It's one of the great moments in college football when Penn State takes the field for the annual whiteout in Beaver Stadium. It's a night the players never forget.
I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I love the energy and the fans that they bring.
He does things no other player can do. Even Tyler Warren's teammates admit it doesn't seem fair.
It's like one thing, you see certain stuff in practice, but when you see stuff like that, hey, he's a guy.
And the latest CFP rankings are released, how far Penn State climbs, and why it's likely they could host a first-round playoff game. This is Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. Apparently, no one on Washington's side ever yelled mush because the Huskies never got going, and Penn State hammers them in their first ever visit to Beaver Stadium. Very impressive first half. Put this one away early, guys.
Yeah, I mean, they withstood Washington's opening drive. Washington misses the field goal, and next thing you know, it's 7-0. Then it's 14-0. It's 21-0. Before you know it, everybody's kind of, it's over.
When they didn't get the field goal, you could just sense it. Then they scored right away. And after the second one, you're like, this one's over early.
Yeah, real good bounce-back effort after the Ohio State loss. These guys were focused, they were concentrating, they were ready to go. What a difference a week makes for the red zone offense. The defense spends a large part of the evening in Washington's backfield. And the new college playoff rankings have the Nittany Lions in a very favorable position in our opening drive. A lot of attention on the red zone choices not working against the Buckeyes. Totally different story against the Huskies. Bo Perbola around the end for the first score. Tyler Warren over the top and pounds his way in for his two scores, along with a Drew Aller pass to Julian Fleming. Creative and effective near the end zone.
Well, there was a little bit of a sarcastic cheer that went up from the north end zone crowd when they shifted and did some things. But, at the end of the day, they got the things done. They put a lot of things on tape that teams are going to have to deal with, and it was effective, and they got in the end zone. And good to see Julian Fleming get in the end zone.
It was really good to see him get in the end zone, because that's another thing you have to worry about with what's going on, because he can bring a lot of stuff to that offense. But I did hear the crowd when they ran the ball down.
Yeah, and look, Katron Allen scored later, too. He scored the fifth touchdown, and no one's saying he's not effective in those situations. It was just the result of multiple times and going, and you want to make sure that ball is in the hands of your best guys. And when it comes to Warren and his leaping ability, his defensive teammate, Kobe King, says it's just not fair.
About 260, 265, and you jumping, I don't think a lot of people are going to stop you in the air. So they got to do something about that. I don't know if you can game plan for somebody jumping over the line of scrimmage, but that's definitely exciting. See him get up and get over the pile and reach the ball across, man. It's like one thing, you see certain stuff in practice, but when you see stuff like that, hey, he's a guy.
Yeah, it was good. And then on the second one, Nick Singleton actually, he's the guy, like the running backs are supposed to be the ones running in, and he had a great block on that second one that I scored on. So I think that kind of just speaks to their mentality as running backs and kind of our offense as a whole, and guys just know what their job is on each play and then focusing on that.
And this might be his most impressive play. A 21-yard catch. A pack of Huskies try to bring him down and simply can't do it. Warren shakes his head side to side like, nope, not going to stop me tonight.
Well, if Huskies like cold weather, the defense pass rush really turned up the heat on them, Tom, and that was something that was a major factor in this game.
It sure was. I mean, they had their way with them all day, and you could just see it from the start, the way it started. It was going to be a quick exit for the Huskies.
5 sacks for the defense. They don't allow a touchdown in the game, and they really, really turned up the heat on the Huskies quarterbacks. They had 2 of them come in. They tried to back up in the second half.
Yeah, and the backup actually helped them with the pass rush, not because they were blocking better, just because he was tougher to bring down. And that's something that, as we look at Purdue, they have a backup quarterback that's more mobile. Will we see him? We'll talk about that in the roadmap to the victory.
It's a great point. After watching that game, you would think we would see more of the backup with Purdue.
Boilermakers are going to try something different. Abdul Carter continues to grow more comfortable with his role as a linebacker and defensive end.
Yeah, physicality is in our standard. It's a defense. We play physical, we play dominant, we play fast, and yeah, that's what we do.
I feel like I'm still getting better. I can keep getting better, and there's just a lot of ways in my game and areas in my game where I can improve on.
Kind of a scary note for opponents. Abdul Carter still working hard to improve and dominate from either position. Still a long way to go before the final college playoff rankings set the field for the 12 teams. The Nittany Lions ascend to 4th in the latest rankings thanks to losses by Miami and Georgia. The Big Ten occupies 4 of the top 5 spots as we take a look at the map. You know, right now they got them hosting Ole Miss, but we know these things are going to change around as we go.
There's a lot of football. I mean, last week, Georgia goes to Ole Miss. Everybody thinks Georgia's a shoo-in to win the SEC, and Ole Miss handles them. So, again, a lot of things left to go.
There's going to be, as we said, that'll change. That board's going to change a ton of times.
You know, if Tennessee turns around and beats Georgia this weekend, they probably jump Penn State because of strength of schedule. So, again, a lot to go. But if you don't win your conference, then you'll figure it out, do we get a home game? And I think right now, Penn State, they win out, they'll get a home game.
Just take care of your business. That's all you can do is take care of what you have to take care of.
And if they do look really good to host a game in late December at Beaver Stadium. The Big Ten, once again, top-heavy with 4 ranked very high, and that's it. No one else in the top 18-team conference is in the top 25. Coach Franklin emphasizes the importance of taking care of business week in and week out.
We value winning. And if you watch college football all over the country, it's hard to win on a consistent basis. You see it every single week, upsets and things like that. So we value winning. We respect winning and what it takes.
Unlikely Penn State gets a shot to play for the Big Ten championship with Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland left on the schedule. It is highly likely the Nittany Lions could host that first-round game. Up next, the roadmap to a Purdue victory. And considering the Boilermakers' results so far this season, there's a lot of different ways they can be beaten. Why you can't take this opponent for granted, and the reason things need to get bloody in our community. Coming up when Nittany Game Week returns.
Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Someone has to finish dead last in the 18-team conference, and right now, that someone is Purdue. Coach Bradley, Coach Paterno, the Nittany Lions have to be careful not to overlook the Boilermakers, and this week, you guys are talking about 2 different opponents.
Well, we're going to get to Purdue in a moment, but we want to start out talking about the Big Ten Blood Challenge. Big Ten and Abbott have created the We Give Blood Drive because they want to drive donations at a time of year when donations generally tail off. Their mission is to do things and create an environment where Big Ten schools can compete each other, but also everybody wins. There's a way to do this. You can use the QR code on your screen. You can find a blood drive near you. It'll also help you upload it and get it done, and we'll see how this all goes. Now, the reason you want your school to win is the winning school is going to get $1 million for student or community health. And Penn Staters, we love to win everything. Donors also get a 1-month subscription to the Big Ten Plus network, and among all that, you get to save someone's life. So there's a pretty good reason to get involved. Now let's take a look at the current leaderboard. Todd referenced Purdue being 18th on the football field. If you look at where Penn State is in the donor drive, there's your top 9. Purdue's ahead of us. We're 12th. So it's imperative that Penn Staters get out there, roll up their sleeves, give some blood, save some lives. And to be part of a winning effort, I went out on Tuesday and rolled up my sleeves, although I was wearing short sleeves and gave blood. Here I am holding a pint of my own blood, 5 minutes, 35 seconds, needle in the arm, bag full. And Tom, I'm holding a bag of my own blood, which I never thought I'd do, and certainly never thought I'd do on television. But it's important to get involved.
And it's important because it's going to help someone. And that's what makes it important.
Absolutely. And now, shifting over to something that's a little less important, a football game as opposed to life and death. Purdue has really, really struggled, Tommy. You look across the board, there's no mystery as to why they're struggling. They're just having trouble in every statistical category you can imagine.
Where's Drew Brees when they need him?
I don't even know if Drew Brees could get it done. But even beyond that, turnover margin time when you're struggling and you're turning the ball over, it makes it worse. Only 162 points in the season. 98 of them came in 2 games. The other 7 games only averaging 7.1 points per game. And then when you look at why they're struggling, take a look at their schedule. They will have played, by the time the season's over, 5 of the top 7 teams in this league, in the country, in the current playoff rankings. that's a tough deal to deal with.
Yeah, the other thing is, too, they haven't been able to get their run game going, which opens up the pass game because people can get more guys in the box. So this is really the one thing that and I thought they'd be able to do that early in the season. It's not a bad offensive line they have.
No, and let's talk about the quarterback position has been a bit of a struggle for him. Hudson Card is a strong arm quarterback. He can throw the deep out to the field. They just have not gotten the big plays off. And you can see here, this is a big time throw. I mean, he hits that back foot, Tom, and makes that throw all the way. You know how hard that is if you lay off to cover that.
Yeah, if you do, and one of the things, when usually they can make that throw there, it opens up a lot of other things inside.
Yeah, they're just not making the runs after the catches. Now, against Illinois, they scored 49 points. Brown, their backup quarterback, was a starter when Card was hurt. It changed the run game for them. They do have some talent at running back, but when you have that quarterback that can run, it really puts pressure on the defense.
It sure does, because you have to account for him at all times. You really have to know where he is.
And that quarterback, Brown, had 280-something yards passing, 118 rushing, but really has not been the starter since. We'll see. Maybe they make a change at that position. Now, on defense, they've also struggled. Scheme-wise, they've been in position. Here's a perfect example. They've got 3 guys in position to make this play unblocked, and they just missed 3 tackles. You know what
That's the
happens
thing
when
is, when you miss tackles, you can do a lot of statistics and different things, but at the end of the day, you start charting missed tackles up, that's going to tell you what kind of defense you've been playing.
And there's a situation, 3 guys have a shot at them, and they just don't have that speed to catch up to that. And you can see they've got guys in position, they don't make the tackles. And again, Northwestern, one of the better games they played, they lost in overtime, but it was because of plays like this. Now, pass rush, they've struggled to get to the quarterback. Even when they blitz, they'll try and do some things up front, but that lack of pass rush has allowed too much time for the quarterbacks. And third downs, Tom, they've given up a lot of third downs, 118th in the country.
And that's one of the things that really sticks out when you watch them on film, is how unproductive they are on third down.
Thank you, coaches. We'll move the chains. We've seen a lot of whiteout energy already this year. The official whiteout is a win for everyone, and one of the best and most intimidating environments in prime time in November. Over 110,000 greet Washington under the lights. It's a bucket list game for hardcore college football fans, and it does not disappoint once again. All day tailgating before the kickoff. When the players run onto the field and the fireworks explode, it creates a core memory for the people in the stands and the guys wearing the blue and white.
I actually got to truly see and feel the whiteout energy. The first time we took the field, just hearing the crowd roar, it's definitely something that I took in and that I'll never forget and a store in my memory bank. I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I love the energy and the fans that they bring.
The team responded to the crowd's energy with nearly flawless execution in the first half. And for fans that couldn't make it to Happy Valley for the game, perhaps the next best way to experience the whiteout is in IMAX theaters throughout the area. For the first time, the game was seen on 23 theater screens, mostly in Pennsylvania and Washington. In this York County location, fans made sure to wear white. Of course, it was one of the better endings they've seen at the theater, with a convincing victory over the Huskies. Up next, our Impact interview with CBS analyst Gary Danielson. We'll discuss his connection to Purdue and find out what impresses him the most about this year's Nittany Lions. More Nittany Game Week after this.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
To Nittany Game Week, our Impact interview guest this week is Gary Danielson of CBS Sports. He was a high school 2-time state champ in Michigan and was, of course, part of Purdue's great quarterback tradition in college before an 11-year NFL career. Spent almost 20 years with ESPN and ABC before joining CBS in 2006. Gary, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Hey, my pleasure. It's fun to always do any Big Ten game, but Penn State has always been special for me. A lot of good friends there.
Well, one thing that we noticed right away is how top-heavy the league has gotten, with 18 teams even, with Oregon and Ohio State, Indiana, and Penn State. Why do you think these 4 teams have been able to separate from the pack this year?
Well, that's a good question because they're all different, but you are right. The league is top-heavy, and that helps the top teams this year. Obviously, no one could have thought this IU deal would work the way it is, but everybody's been able to kind of pick apart the rest of their schedule. But, there are 4 legitimate contenders, I think, here Oregon is for real. Obviously, Ohio State, Penn State. And then IU, they got a great group of fighters. All of us that have competed in sports like this story. Maybe not if you're a Purdue fan, but if you're everybody else in college football, you're pretty enamored with a group of guys, a bunch of misfits that none of the big schools wanted. And, Kurt Signetti takes them, and a guy who's put in, years and years and years to get this job, and it turns out to be like this. So it's been a great year to cover the Big Ten.
So, Gary, Purdue has a great tradition of producing both astronauts and NFL quarterbacks, a tradition you're part of. Which is more impressive, the astronauts or the NFL quarterbacks?
We both positions, okay? Quarterback or astronaut they're dependent on a lot of people to do the right thing. The astronauts sitting on top of that booster, and us, that pocket protection and having the right coordinator and the right receivers. That's what attracted me, though. I wanted to go to Purdue. I was coming out of high school. I wanted to play in the Big Ten. It's a funny story. The first memory I have, because I just played football. I never watched football growing up, and first memory I really have, my uncle got a new color TV, and we were at his house for the New Year's Rose Bowl, and Wisconsin played USC, the Rand Vanderkellen game against Pete Beathard. And I was just like, I want to do that someday. I want to play in that Rose Bowl. So, I was recruited by Alabama because I had some ties there. I went to their camp and I was recruited pretty heavily. But Notre Dame, Michigan, Purdue, and Michigan State. But I was enamored with the ability to go throw the ball at Purdue. And at that time, Purdue was really the only school that really threw the drop back passing game. And they did that until I got there. And then I had the fun task of running the wishbone when I was in college. So that wasn't right up my alley. But it toughened me up and made me better. So my NFL career was probably dependent on me being humbled a bit in college. And I was a much tougher player when I went to the NFL.
Gary, you've seen Penn State live. What stands out about them this year, and why should Penn State fans have playoff optimism?
Mostly what I think about this Penn State team is it's typical of what I've seen in past years when I've covered them. They've beaten everybody. Lately they've struggled to get past two pretty good teams. Michigan and Ohio State have been loaded. But I was pretty impressed with that last drive that Drew put in our game and at USC. I mean, anytime, you have the record that Drew Aller had, taking care of the ball, making the right decisions, and he comes out on the road, against a high profile team, national television, and throws a couple interceptions, two of them that the defense saved. I think they held both of them to field goals in that game. But he got the ball back, with about 6 minutes to go in the game. 2 fourth down plays. I know the CBS is going to feature those plays going into this game sometime, either this week or next week against Minnesota. I think those 2 fourth down plays, one of them when Drew got out of the pocket and hit Julian Fleming. The first one, I really thought they should have punted the ball with about 5 minutes to go. But Coach Franklin called both of them. He got away with both of them. I think that's one of the coolest parts of this team. They struggled in the red zone both against USC and against Ohio State for different reasons.
CBS Sports college football analyst Gary Danielson will be on the call for Penn State Purdue this Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on CBS, as well as next Saturday for Penn State Minnesota at 3:30. You can catch him alongside Brad Nessler and Jenny Dell, calling a Big Ten matchup every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS. We really appreciate Gary's time. We need to step aside from the TV show for a quick break. Make sure to go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire conversation with Gary Danielson, along with other web-exclusive content like our depth chart and Nittany Game Week podcast. Our scrap metal winner is wreaking havoc from multiple positions on the defense. What he does to completely disrupt Washington's offensive rhythm. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
The Nittany Game Week Depth Chart is brought to you by Burke and Bradley Orthopedics. Located in Pittsburgh, Burke and Bradley Orthopedics is a comprehensive sports medicine practice, providing patients with the most current and innovative approaches in diagnosis and treatment. Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are Inn, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit theweareinn.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
Here we go, Tom. Scrap Metal Award time. And you are going with the guy who wreaks havoc from multiple positions.
I love when it's a defensive guy. Whether it's a linebacker or a defensive end, Junior Abdul-Carter continues to improve and spent much of his night in Washington's backfield. Carter finished the game with 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, forced a fumble along with a quarterback hurry. Abdul has been named the semifinalist for the Bednarik Award, Lombardi Award, and the Lot Impact Award. That's a lot of awards. He earned Walter Camp Defensive Player of the Week honors for his effort against the Huskies.
Well, now it's trivia time. And last week's question was Penn State had played Washington 3 times, 2 of them in bowl games, with the last being the Fiesta Bowl win in 2017. Name the other bowl game and year that Penn State defeated the Huskies. It was the 1983 Aloha Bowl. Kelly Matthews from New Freedom, PA, and Tom Herman from Kennett Square, PA, are our winners. Now, this week we turn towards Purdue. Purdue quarterback and Super Bowl MVP and future NFL Hall of Famer Drew Brees started 3 games against Penn State. What was his record in those 3 starts against Penn State?
Well, in addition to a television show, we're bringing Nittany Lions together with our depth chart. At NittanyGameWeek.com, we're connecting businesses that support the show with our viewers. Our goal is to build a team that keeps our hometowns strong. And if you haven't noticed yet, we have a lot to share with you when it comes to college football. It does not all fit into our neat and tidy 30-minute window. Make sure to check out NittanyGameWeek.com for all of our web-exclusive content. Bunch of whiteout pride pics were submitted at our website. Keep them coming. We love to see them. And we finish the show with some of your picks. Continue to show us that spirit. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.